It is such an honor for me to be with you here today, and admittedly, it's a bit surreal too, because it feels like it was just a few years ago that I was sitting right where you are now. Looking up at the speaker, wondering what they had to say to me on this important day of my life. Restless, perhaps bored, anxious to get on with my life, but sentimental too, for the same things you are about to leave behind. I'm so glad to see that the white dresses and red roses are still in for graduation. As a teen, I remember always wanting time to pass faster, and I bet you did too. Couldn't wait to get into high school, to get my driver's license, get through AP English, get through AP Bio, thank goodness, get past the SATs, finish those college applications. Then, senior year, but that wasn't good enough. The fun part of senior year, spring term final exams. But I tell you, in the blink of an eye, you will soon be wishing time had slowed down. That's what your parents are thinking right now. Savor this day, because it is an important one. Up until now, you've had your path laid out for you. Study hard, get into college, don't get into trouble, win some sports, games, but when you leave this room today, you are an adult. Next year, you will be making your own decisions with no parents watching over your shoulders. So earn that responsibility and deserve that independence. I learned how to sail here at Ransom, and it's an activity I really believe every person should experience because it teaches you that no matter what you do here, at this point in your life, it's going to affect you over there. Once you set a course, you can't just go below deck and relax, because setting a course and keeping a course requires work. And you learn that sometimes getting to that same point that you envisioned a long time ago means changing your course, because the winds change and so do your fortunes. Some people will tell you that high school is the best time in your life, and others will say it is the worst. But whatever you experienced, know that you have already been given the best of the best, and you are so lucky to call this school your own. When you go on to college and life, you will see that Ransom Everglades prepared you so well. But there was a big price for this. The money that your parents paid, and the time and the energy that your teachers over there gave you. You've actually been spoiled, really, by the attention of the fabulous and brilliant people who wanted nothing more than to see you excel in life. And they do this for modest pay and little thanks. So before you leave today, thank them. Apologize if you are a pain in the you-know-what. Keep in touch. Tell them how grateful you are for their inspiration, their knowledge, and their caring. Some of my former teachers are here today. Ms. Lester, Ms. Anrati, Ms. Corona, Mr. Stokes, Mr. Bowden, and even now I remember moments in their classrooms that changed the way I felt about learning, changed my life. And these things will be revealed to you throughout your life. And one day, if you come back and you're in this position and you're speaking, you will know that I was right. You are privileged to have attended not just one of the best, but one of the most beautiful schools in this country. I tell you, the friends you make in college will not tell you that their high school was set on a peninsula in a bay. They didn't jump into boats to go retrieve footballs that went into the water after field goals. And by the way, that story will give you serious cred if you go up north. They say service is the right to be paid for the privilege of living here on earth. Well, get working, because you are already in debt. Your life has started off so much better and far more beautiful than most. But don't take my word for it. Go see for yourself. If you're not going far away from college, go far away in life. Go far away in travels. Get out of your comfort zone. It will make you appreciate your life and also set you straight when you start stressing about problems most of the world wish it had. I went to graduate school in New York City, not an easy or pleasant place when you don't have an income. In the early 90s, after graduating, I set off to see the world with my parents' support and encouragement, and I wanted to see the most remote places possible. In northern Pakistan, my friends and I stayed in a farmer's guest house, a few hundred yards up a rocky hill from his home. After dinner, by firelight, he gave us a single lantern with a small bit of oil to light our way back, because there was no electricity in the sparsely populated areas, and the night was pitch black. I asked the innkeeper for some more oil, and he looked at me quizzically. I told him I wanted to do some reading back in the hut, and he shook his head no. Oil was much too expensive for that kind of frivolous luxury. He pointed to the sky and he said, when the sun goes down, you go down. You both go down together. When the sun comes up, you go up, because it's time for work. And they meant work in this village. They worked until that sun went down again. Farming is tough enough, but this was a life without washers and dryers, cars, vacuum cleaners, refrigerators, irons, microwaves, and running water. People had to walk for water and branches to cook, to burn for cooking and warmth. One day, my friend and I set out to trek one of the lower peaks around K2. We went up a trail that traversed a rocky face. Before long, the trail got steeper and narrowed until it was about the width of my hand here. A sheer drop went about 500 feet to the rocks below. But there was no turning back. It was the only way to get around the mountain. We had to go over it. We saw a few mountain goats, and I'm sure they looked at us like, what are you doing? When the crest was just a couple hundred feet above us, the trail broke off completely, so it was just a sheer rocky face, but we had to keep going. I started crying. My friend said, I'm going to climb below you and cling almost vertically to the face of this rock, so if you fall above me, we will both fall together. We finally made it across with broken nails and bloody hands, and collapsing in a teary heap of relief on a small landing there. Just then, a man and a woman came up and over the crest with huge branches strapped on their backs. We started screaming at them, don't go down there, it's dangerous, be very, very careful, you could fall to your death. Yes, the man replied, I know. We do this hike every 3 days, my mother and I, to gather wood. I never felt more pathetic. Graduates, we have no idea what it means to work hard. When you think life is hard, is it really? Never forget that. Despite the heavy labors required for daily life, there was actually the forced bedtime that was the hardest for my system to absorb because it had been artificially altered by electricity and the frenetic pace of New York City. But I was never more rested than I was in Pakistan. So now you are going to college. I know about Ransom, so I know all of you are going on to do great things academically. You've probably been obsessing about this since 9th grade. Not if you would go, but where. And that's a huge privilege in itself. In the 1970s, I went to China to meet my paternal grandmother. We were among the first visitors into the country after the country started opening its doors. Even though I was 11, I was already feeling pretty confident about myself as a student, and it never crossed my mind I wouldn't go to college. But college isn't reality for most kids in China, even the brightest ones. 1% of the population gets there. Starting from elementary school, there are rigorous exams every year that eliminate another 50% of the students. So imagine this, the entire Ransom Everglades middle school that you started out with, and every year you take something equivalent to the SATs that will knock half of you out of school, until maybe 4 or 5 kids total out of the entire school goes to college. And even then, you can't choose what you major in. Those same exams determine your course of study and your life's work. When I went back to China in the 90s to visit some Yale friends who were teaching there, I remember meeting brilliant but terribly unhappy medical students because they didn't want to become doctors. My incredible mother, sitting over here, who always brings us back down to earth, said if we had grown up in China, we probably wouldn't have even made it to high school. You'd be scooping up after the water buffalo. So, no matter what you choose to do, remember, you have a choice. And that is incredible. The ultimate freedom, and freedom is the key to your happiness. So why do so many people look back at high school and say, wow, that was the best time of your life? I'm not exactly sure it was the best time of their lives, but they are trying to recall what you should feel right now. And that is, you have the world of possibilities in front of you. You can do anything. As you go through life, your choices will affect you deeply. You will regret some of those decisions. But never stop believing that you cannot change your mind and change your life. Preserve that potential that you have today, the feeling, the world is your oyster. I spent the last month listening to some graduation speeches and asking friends for the best advice that I could possibly pass on to you. First of all, everyone talks of failure. Indeed, you will fail, not a matter of if, but when. And if you're lucky, you'll fail sooner rather than later, because it's a great life skill to learn how to fail and to keep moving forward. Be prepared for it. I know you're thinking, yeah, that's what every commencement speaker from Steve Jobs, Katie Couric, to Denzel Washington has said in their speech. You know Jobs was kicked out of his company before returning and making us all addicted to iPhones. Katie Couric was taken off the air in her first job. Her boss said she was so bad he never wanted to see her on that side of the camera again. Boy, I sure don't want to be that guy now. Denzel Washington talks about a humiliating audition for a Broadway musical. They cut him off after like one measure of his song, and they did not thank him for coming. Denzel also talks about Reggie Jackson's record, 2,600 plus strikeouts, while pointing out it's the home runs we remember. And we don't think about Thomas Edison's 1,000 failed experiments before the light bulb finally switched on. Sadly, the law of averages will guarantee that you will fail, probably at many things, but if you keep trying, the same law of averages means you will succeed. And my mom told me, always aim high, because when you fail, you'll still fall and end up higher than if you were aiming low to begin with. My job involves observing people, and I've seen the same thing over and over again. No matter what you choose to do in this life, everything comes down to people and your relationships. I hope you find a career that you enjoy, life's work, but trust me, don't expect to love your job. Love is for people and animals. Get a job that is positive, stimulating, part of a healthy, full life. It's important to study hard and make good grades, but when it comes to your career, again, people are most important. Chances are you have a product made by Whirlpool in your house, maybe several of them. It's a Fortune 500 company. One of the most powerful men in that company recently told a friend of mine how he got his start. He was 22, just out of college, and was taking a job as a State Farm life insurance representative, and that's what he thought he was going to do for the rest of his life. Quite happy about it. He was driving to work one day, and he happened to see a car pulled over on the side of the road, and an older man with a flat tire, waiting for AAA. This young man, seeing the guy was in a suit, stopped and said, "I'll change the tire for you." When he was done, that man handed him a card. He said, "Call me, I have a job for you." The man was the CEO of Whirlpool. And this young man said, "I'm not really interested in that business. I'm unqualified, I know nothing about it." He said, "Any young man who would stop and change a tire for a stranger will do well in my company." And that man is now the #2 guy, 35 years later, at Whirlpool. Relationships are vital to your career, but ultimately they will mean everything in your life because they can make you happy. You've heard it before, even at your young age, that at the end of life, no one ever thinks about their jobs, their accolades, or achievements. They remember their relationships. They remember love. I personally don't remember the grades I made in any particular class year. I do remember laughing hysterically, sitting by the cannon, chatting under the trees, hanging with friends in the breezeway, waiting for my ride. I remember very late nights, losing my mind, editing this yearbook, but then laughing about it. I remember Dan Bowden reading Truman Capote's A Christmas Memory in the Pagoda. The first time literature brought tears to my eyes. I was 14. And thanks to Dan Bowden, that started a very long tradition of tears in my eyes after reading. The world is a small place, and this place will always be with you. Maybe a chance meeting with another alum far away from Coconut Grove. As you heard from Ms. Mosseri, I've been reporting on the Boston Marathon bombings, and it brought tears to my eyes to see those notes from Ransom Everglades students. It made me remember this community and what it represents. Treasure your friends. Work hard, but when each job is done, have fun. Never, ever take anything for granted. This last week, you may have seen a story go viral on the internet. It's a video about the final days of a young man named Zach Sobiek. He was your age, some of you nodding, I think some of you may have seen this. It's a video about the final days of his life, because as a teen, he learned he had terminal cancer. He died last week, but he spent his final days outliving most of us, composing music, spending time bonding with his family and friends. And he said something that I want you to remember. There is no better feeling in this world than to see a smile on someone else's face, knowing that you are there. Sadly, he never got to where you are at this very moment, because he died before his graduation, just days before. But his life was full, because he already learned what most of us spend our lives trying to learn, that life is really all about love, connections, and making other people happy. We are lucky that technology allows us to keep better in touch with each other. I know you don't know life without email and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and frankly, I actually don't remember it too well myself. But I do know when I graduated from here, we had to write letters to each other, or spend over $1 per minute on a long-distance phone call. Use technology to keep in touch, but remember, it's a double-edged sword. It can be a time suck. It can ruin your life. I know that Facebook has gotten some kids in trouble. We all make mistakes, and people eventually forget our mistakes. But forgetting is much harder when you have something embarrassing, stupid, or mean online forever. Be smart about what you put online, and when in doubt, just don't do it. And be kind to others online, because looking at a screen instead of someone's face does not give you the right to be any less kind, gracious, sensitive, or smart. And speaking of faces, here's some advice I like to give myself. I need to give myself every day. Put down the devices and have more conversations. Texting is fun, but it can never be as wonderful as looking into someone's eyes and talking. And isn't it great to laugh with someone instead of at your phone? I was giving a talk at the Yale Club of Boston last year. The subject was current events, so it was a free-for-all, and of course, at that point, we were talking about the Arab Spring. It was exploding. A young aspiring journalist came up to me and asked, "How do I get your job? How do I prepare for your job?" And I said, it's pretty simple. Most people prepare for their jobs the very same way. You read, and you read, and you read, and you think. A few days later, she sent me a note saying she was embarrassed that she didn't know more about the Middle East uprisings after reading some stuff online. And she promised me that she would do more reading and less what she called Facebook creeping. You know what I'm talking about, that mindless scrolling through nothingness. So back to the positive part of Facebook. Although you are now leaving high school, you do not have to leave the incredible circle that you found here. Don't let your friends go. Make a promise to drop emails and updates as often as you can. Almost exactly 1 year ago, a young woman named Marina Keegan died in a car crash on Cape Cod. Just 2 days earlier, she had graduated from my alma mater, Yale. The crash happened at 2 in the afternoon. No speeding, no alcohol. On a long stretch of road, her boyfriend, who was probably exhausted, he had also graduated with her, drifted off to sleep. Freak accident, he flipped the car. A talented writer, she was about to start a job at the New Yorker. She wrote a final essay for the Daily News at Yale that happened to go viral after her death. I urge you to Google it and read it. It's called The Opposite of Loneliness. She wrote about her sadness and fear of leaving her circle of friends in college, similar to what you have here at Ransom, Everglades. She wrote, "We don't have a word for the opposite of loneliness, but if we did, I could say that's what I want in life, what I'm grateful and thankful to have found at Yale, and what I'm scared of losing when we wake up tomorrow and leave this place. It's not quite love, it's not quite community. It's just this feeling that there are people, an abundance of people who are in this together, who are on your team. More than finding the right job or city or spouse, I'm scared of losing this web we're in, this elusive, indefinable opposite of loneliness, this feeling I have right now." So graduates, keep this feeling. Keep the team you found here. Never take your life or your great luck for granted. Go out and do great things. And don't forget to stop and help, have fun, and love along the way. Because ultimately, That will be your greatest joy and achievement. All of us here are so excited to see what you will do. Congratulations, good luck, and thank you.